Hey, David.
Mr. Larry, if I was there, I'd give you a hug right now, even before this all began.
Yeah, I left a card for you on your in your little tray here.
All right, thank you for that.
Yeah. There's some nice things about you.
Hopefully there's a future game Warriors tickets in there that we've been talking about.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. All right. Steve, Bill. All right.
Good evening.
Yeah. I got some city shirts if anybody.
Yes.
Are you laughing at my mom and dad, Ken?
Oh yeah, I see your dad. Yeah, yes.
I don't think it's going to work with the virtual background. We're going to have to remove it when it's time for the swearing in.
Right, they keep floating in and out.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. Hey, when you get a chance, come into the office. I left a card in your tray.
Gosh, you're so sweet. You didn't have to do that.
I know, but you know, that's
It's not goodbye, Ken. We're still neighbors. Like I said in my note to you on the frame, we're gonna go back to our regular coffees now and talk about other stuff, non-council stuff.
yeah, all right. So coffee with you, bourbon whiskey with David.
You have all your beverages covered.
Right, yeah.
That would be a consultation with Dr. Walker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Daniels, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on a second. Okay, well, it looks like, let's see what it looks like with this. Circular background, yeah, we'll do none. Let's see what that looks. Oh, there you are. Okay. Slide over.
Hi.
There we are. All right, we got family over here too. I think you're right, Mary. It works better without the virtual for swearing in. Okay.
You can take the virtual background off, Miriam, for the beginning.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. There's everybody.
Hi.
Right. Welcome, Pierre.
Thank you, Ken.
Okay. Still looking. Is Mark here yet?
No, I don't see him.
Let me check my email.
No.
I'm sure there's no
They have a problem logging in.
problem logging in.
Supervisor Ramos is here.
They want to call him up.
There he is. He is.
Oh,
Right.
he's
Oh,
here.
look
Oh,
at
there you
that.
are. Hey,
Oh,
looking snappy there.
yeah.
He just got back from a New Year's Eve ball.
All right.
Just a little mafioso look.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. We'll do it for the opening. We'll use the virtual on my end. And then when we get the swearing in, we'll take it off so we can see our family members with us. Okay. Everybody's here, all present and accounted for. We'll call the meeting to order, Joint City Council Fire Protection District Board meeting. for December 1, 2020. Roll call, please. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll do a pledge of allegiance. Actually, given the virtual climate, it's probably, we can't make exceptions. I think we'll stand and so we can see our faces and the flag.
Oh, so stop sharing screen.
No, please share. That's great.
Okay.
So I'll lead. Hand over heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
United States of America.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll do roll call now, please.
Councilmember Miriam Abadamos.
Here.
Councilmember Kenneth Leary.
Here.
Councilmember Mark Joseph.
Here.
Councilmember-elect Pierre Washington.
Here.
Vice Mayor David Oro.
Here.
Mayor Leon Garcia.
Here. Thank you. City Clerk's announcement pursuant to Government Code 4952.3. It is as stated in the agenda. City Clerk, you have an announcement to make with respect to teleconference participants.
Thank you for joining us for the December 1st, 2020 City of American Canyon City Council meeting. This meeting is being held entirely virtually in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The format tonight will be similar to that of in-person City Council meeting. In addition to the Zoom platform, the meeting is being broadcast on cable TV, Channel 28, on YouTube, and streamed live on the city's website. You will see the City Council members on your screen, along with members of city staff. All members of the public will participate in a listen-only mode. Public comment is invited for non-agenda items during the public forum section of the meeting and on each agenda item. When the item you wish to speak on is called, please follow these steps to make your comment. When the mayor calls a particular item and you wish to speak on that item, click the raise hand button if joining by computer. If joining by phone, dial *9 to raise your hand. When it's your turn, I will announce your name and invite you to speak. You may see a message saying the host would like you to unmute your microphone. If you get this message, click unmute myself and begin speaking. To unmute yourself by phone, dial *6 and begin speaking. Video will not be turned on, only audio. You have up to 3 minutes to make your comments to the City Council. At the end of your 3 minutes, I will ask you to conclude your comments quickly, and I will mute your audio once you're done. Please press 9 to raise your hand for the items you wish to speak on, as the raised hand will be cleared at the end of each item. The agenda for this meeting is available on the City Council's page of the city's website. As is in the standard practice, community members are allowed to comment one time on each agenda item. All votes at tonight's meeting will be taken by roll call. We ask for your patience and understanding when there are technical difficulties. This concludes my introductory remarks.
Thank you, City Clerk Sherry Walton.
Thank you.
I would like to recognize our supervisor, Billy Ramos, present. Good evening, welcome, good to have you here. Move on our agenda, proclamations and presentations. So what we're going to do is we're going to take up first the staff report and then resolution on accepting the election results. See if I've got it right in the order. Councilmember Leary will participate with us up through that. And at that point, he will exit as we swear in the new electeds. Have I got that correct? Yes, very good. Okay, good. So moving on to staff report. Here. Take staff report regarding the November elections. Adopt a resolution accepting City Council results for the November 3, 2020 general municipal election for the City Council and administer the oath of office to electees.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Before you tonight is a resolution accepting the City Council results of the November 3rd, 2020 general municipal election for City Council and to administer the oath of office to electees. There were administrative errors in the staff report and no changes to the resolution. Staff is recommending council approve the amendments, deleting Robert Vega as a candidate and Jason Kishner, whose name is listed twice in the second paragraph. On June 2nd, 2020, the City Council adopted Resolution 2020-42, calling a general municipal election for November 3rd, 2020, to select 2 City Council members to serve 4-year terms through 2024. On November 3rd, American Canyon voters considered 5 candidates for the 2 City Council positions: Miriam Abadamo's incumbent, Eric Altman, Jason Kishner, Joey Palma, and Pierre Washington. In addition, voters considered 2 candidates for the mayor position: Leon Garcia, incumbent, and Mark Joseph. Government Code Section 10263 requires that upon the completion of the canvass and before installing the new officers, the governing body shall adopt a resolution reciting the fact of the election. And this must take place at its usual place of meeting no later than the next regular scheduled City Council meeting, following presentation of the canvass of the returns. As of the writing of this report, Register of Voters John Tudor has issued unofficial final election results, but we have since received the official results for the City Council positions. As such, staff will include the certified election results to the staff report online, and we will also include it in the City Council packet managed by the City Clerk's office. Those results indicated incumbents Leon Garcia and Miriam Abadamos retained their seats as mayor. Mayor Garcia retained his seat as mayor, and Miriam Abadamos retained her seat as council member. In addition, Pierre Washington is elected to serve as a council member. Staff is recommending council adopt a resolution accepting the City Council results of the November 3rd, 2020 general municipal election for City Council and to administer the oath of office to electees. And staff is also recommending that the changes be included in the record of the minutes.
With that said, I'm just going to go ahead and make a motion to adopt resolution number 2020 next in order. A resolution of the City Council of the City of American Canyon accepting the election results for the City Council for the general municipal election held on November 3rd, 2020, as amended. Congratulations. I hope I get a second.
I'll second.
Second,
I'll second that.
I got that first.
The last one he gets to have.
Yeah.
All right, okay. I'll risk it my second.
Give it to Ken, it's his last
Yeah.
action. Is there a need for public comment on this item? Did we receive any?
No public comments received.
Very good. Then we'll do a roll call then, please.
Councilmember Miriam Abadamos,
Here.
Councilmember Kenneth Leary,
Yes.
Councilmember Mark Joseph,
Yes.
Vice Mayor David Oro,
Yes.
Mayor Leon Garcia.
Yes, thank you. That being
I meant
said,
to say yes.
yes. Did we get it all? I think everybody voted. Good. Thank you. All right. So Ken, at this point, we're going to be swearing in our new officials. And this is your point of departure. So my goodness, it's been great working with you. Thank you for your service on City Council for 2 terms.
Well, thank you very much. All right.
Thank you.
You leave a legacy of great work. So
And I enjoyed working with you all. Thank you very much.
all right.
We
All the
enjoyed
best.
working with you too, Ken. Thank you so
All
much
right.
for all of your service, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you around.
Well,
All right.
well, thank you. And
With
I
with
will
that,
see
we'll
you.
move on
Yeah.
to all right. Oath of office administered. Okay, how would you like to proceed? The clerks.
Mayor, you're first.
Yes.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Leon Garcia,
I, Leon Garcia,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the Constitution
and allegiance to the Constitution
of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully discharge the duties upon
discharge the duties upon
which I am about to enter.
which I'm about to enter.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we forgot something. Sorry. Hang on a second. All right, come on. Here's my videographer is here. Yeah, it's a time for family too. So yeah.
Congratulations to
Thank you, my
everyone.
love. Thank you. All right. We'll move on now.
Next,
Right.
Councilmember Abadamos.
I have my babies with me.
Please raise your right hand. I, Miriam J. Abadamos,
I, Miriam J. Abadamos,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith of allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Next up, Pierre Washington.
Hey. Woo-hoo.
Please raise your right hand. I don't see his, okay.
You don't see me?
Pierre, oh, there
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there. Please repeat after me.
Okay.
I, Pierre R. Washington,
I, Pierre R. Washington,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
of the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Pierre. Welcome to council.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good to have you on board. Welcome.
Please stop by City Hall to sign the original, and Bill Ross as well.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Let's see if I can do. Yep. Okay, we will move on now with our agenda.
Mayor, if I could, I had my hand raised.
Oh, yes, please.
I just wanted to thank the council for allowing me to be present here, not just as a resident, as your county supervisor, to welcome your newest council member, Councilmember Washington. I look forward to working with you in this newly constituted council. I think one of the things that makes me incredibly proud in seeing this council is just how reflective it is of our community, our values, and what we add to the county as a whole. As we know, 2020 has been a challenging year, but I have the utmost faith that as we bring this year to a close and march on to 2021 with the hopes of vaccinations coming our way and a new healthy plan forward, I look forward to working with all of you to make sure that American Canyon remains a resilient community and that we have much brighter days ahead. Welcome aboard, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Appreciate it. Right? We'll move on with our agenda, public comment. Have we received any public comment for anything not on the agenda at this point?
No public comments.
All right, very good.
Janelle Selleck, one second. I will need to unmute her.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, Janelle.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm clear.
Great. Well, thanks for having me tonight. I just wanted to take a couple minutes and just acknowledge the outdoor fitness center that was installed a few weeks ago, and thank the city as well as staff, council, and everyone for their support in getting the project in. It's been really exciting to see the community's response to it. It's quite a busy place to be. It's almost every time of the day there's somebody using the equipment, and evenings certainly seem to be the most popular time of the day to use it. So we had over 50 donors that contributed to the project in amounts ranging from $100 up to $10,000, as well as a significant contribution from ICC Stravinsky and Peter and Kim Stravinsky for the concrete pad. So it's a really great example of what can be done with creative use of public-private partnership. And we're just really excited to have it in, excited to see the community's response, and we're looking forward to future projects with the city. So in case you haven't had a chance to see it, it's 10 pieces of equipment. About 30 different people can use it at a time with multiple exercises. And of course, with COVID right now, we hope that 30 people aren't using it at a time. We ask people to socially distance. The city has done a great job of putting in signage that explains common sense COVID safety procedures, hand sanitizer before and after use, etc. And so in addition to that, the foundation's also working on a plan to donate the fencing that will surround the perimeter of the equipment to help funnel the traffic flow in and out of the equipment past the signage and utilizing the sidewalk that was poured for people to access it. So again, just wanted to thank the city and council and staff for all their support, and we're really looking forward to future projects. I'll do a plug for one project that we're working on right now, which is a story walk installation at Shenandoah Park, and that's something that Creighton and I have been discussing for a few months now, but we have some money to fund it already from the generous grant from Redwood Credit Union, and so we're looking at this very unique installation of reading kiosks that will support literacy in the community as well as outdoor time and physical activity. So again, just wanted to say thank you, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions or come on down and try the equipment. Thanks so much.
Thank you for your comment. Timing couldn't be better with all the gyms now being closed due to our purple tier in the COVID pandemic. I had an opportunity to try it out myself, and it's great exercise, a good activity. I think it just kind of helps lift spirits with people as well, being able to be outdoors.
Absolutely. Leon, you were the star of our video. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Right. Thank you.
There are no additional public comments.
Okay, so no other public comment. Okay, we have some agenda changes coming up on this next on our agenda.
Yes, under consent item B1 and 2, here would need to abstain. And he can participate in items B3 through B6.
So there's separate motions for that? Is that what the process
Yes,
is?
there will be 2 separate motions. Thank you.
Okay, then if that's the case, I will move to approve consent calendars item B1 and B2.
I'll second.
Motion second, roll call, please.
Councilmember Miriam Abadamos,
Yes.
Councilmember Mark Joseph,
Yes.
Vice Mayor David Orrell,
Yes.
Mayor Leon Garcia.
Yes, thank you, council. Now with the remainder of the consent.
I'll make a motion. Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. I'll make a motion. We approve.
I'll just second your motion.
Okay, consent items B3 through 5. Well, the rest of the consent,
6, B6, all the way to B6.
all the way to B6.
I'll second that one too, Cherry.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Miriam Abadamos,
Yes.
Councilmember Mark Joseph,
Yes.
Councilmember Pierre Washington,
Yes.
Vice Mayor David Orrell,
Yes.
Mayor Leon Garcia.
Yes, thank you, council. Moving on to our agenda, public hearings this evening. Moving on to business items, D1, adopt a resolution ratifying and continuing the proclamation of existence of a local emergency, P 2020-001, issued by the Director of Emergency Services. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This item tonight is ratification of the local emergency that was declared back in March, and the Council has continued to ratify subsequent declarations. These declarations are only good for 60 days, and the situation related to the COVID-19 pandemic continues unabated in our community and elsewhere, increases in numbers. And actually the 18th fatality of a Napa County resident has occurred earlier this week. So again, it continues. There is some light at the end of the horizon with the announcement of vaccines that may be available starting next year. The deployment of those vaccines, of course, will take some time given the enormity of scale that is facing our country and the world. But locally here, things are pretty much status quo, although we're certainly keeping an eye on all of the activities that are going on. American Canyon, as a part of Napa County, is in the purple tier on the governor's roadmap to recovery. And at that point, it means we don't have any more indoor dining, particularly for our restaurants. Those are impacts, but there are other restrictions as well. So we're continuing to monitor those conditions. But the overall situation is well beyond the control of our local resources here. That's why we are partnering with the county on a number of different items, including even in the last 2 weeks, representatives of the council joining our your county colleagues and getting out some of the messaging around safe practices related to COVID-19. And we continue to partner with the county on various outreach efforts along with various public health efforts. Happy to answer any questions if the council has any, and staff recommends approval of the resolution.
It's very straightforward to me, given where our status of where we are within the pandemic. Any council comment at this time? Public comment on this matter?
There are no public comments. But I would like to mention for the record that the motion for the consent, this item was mentioned twice as B6 as a consent item and business item as D1.
So do we still need to move on this?
So
Yes, we do.
yes, you can still move on this.
All right, well, with that said, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 2020 next in order. A resolution of the City Council of the City of American Canyon ratifying and continuing the proclamation of existence of a local emergency issued by the Director of Emergency Services.
I'll second that.
Motion is second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Miriam Alvarado,
Yes.
Councilmember Mark Joseph,
Yes.
Councilmember Pierre Washington,
Yes.
Vice Mayor David Oro,
Yes.
Mayor Leon Garcia.
Yes. Thank you, Council. Move on to our next business item. D2, conduct a workshop to discuss permitting the lodging, a land use to the Broadway District Specific Plan, local serving mixed use zoning district. Staff reports on the Hampton Inn.
Thank you, Mayor and Council members. I'm Brent Cooper, the Community Development Director, and here to have a talk to you tonight about a prospective change to our zoning code. This is an opportunity to have some public input and council thought on issues related to a request to change our zoning code. So with that, I'll give you a brief presentation. So the request itself is pretty straightforward and simple. It's related to amending the local serving mixed use zoning district to add what we call a lodging use. The application we have is a hotel, but there's other forms of lodging, and so it's kind of more of a generic term. But that would be the request, is to allow that as among the different uses allowable in the local serving mixed use zoning district. I have a screen here that shows the location of the proposed hotel. It's a site right now that has some structures on it, just south of Donaldson Way on the west side of Broadway or Highway 29, and shown there in yellow. The site conditions on the property today, I guess we would characterize it as underutilized. As you can see from the aerial photograph, there is a very large area in the rear of the property that's just unutilized for any real economic purpose. Overall, the site is about 2.5 acres. There are some older structures on the site, kind of a warehouse building on the north side, kind of up here, if you can see from my cursor. Those structures are placed too close to the building setback line along the property line, and they don't have good highway visibility. There is an older home here that's been repurposed for commercial use. So it's just kind of an older site that's kind of in need of rejuvenation. The current zoning conditions right now, it was recently rezoned through the Broadway District Specific Plan about a year ago. Prior to that, it was community commercial, which in itself is a very broad-based zoning that allows a lot of different uses. But the zoning today that's there is intended to support retail uses. Either the retail itself is built on there, or the uses on there help support existing retail uses. Some of the zoning allowable uses that do exist in the zoning, there would be multifamily, office, retail. Those are kind of typical things that would be allowed. And as mentioned, lodging or hotel uses is not currently permitted in that district. I'm taking a look at the site from Highway 29 or Broadway. You can kind of see the structures I described. There's an old non-conforming pole sign here that's perhaps waiting to be removed. There is no street landscaping that you might typically see in newer developments. And that site is subject to frequent dumping. It's something that we see a lot, and we do have code enforcement action on that matter. Some of the other redevelopment site challenges is it's what we would call a mid-block location. There's properties to the north and to the south. Retail properties in particular do well when they have frontage on an intersection because it's much easier to get access. This particular site is only accessible from southbound Broadway traffic. And so if you miss this location, well, then you have to go a long way around the block to get back. If you're coming north and you'd like to go there, well, then you drive up to Donaldson Way and make a U-turn, a little less convenient. Not a great location for one that attracts A-rated retail uses. Retail itself, as we all know, and the trend has been going on for a lot of years, and with COVID, of course, has accelerated the trend. It's difficult to get retail tenants. Of course, over here at Napa Junction Retail Center, they're still waiting, trying to lease space. And that's brand new, first rate. So retail is a tough market right now. And so that is an accelerated change even just in the last year from the approval of the Broadway District Plan. So it does beg the question, what other uses might be possible on this site? As you can see, the site being underutilized, it really hasn't attracted a lot of uses over the years. We've had some inquiries, but we haven't had any applications. If we just sort of cast our gaze immediately to the south, you can see we have Canyon Plaza Shopping Center. It's very attractive. It's been there a long time, and what we want to do with the Broadway District is kind of extend the feeling and the impression of the development that is new and positive to newer properties. And so if we kind of look there, it kind of has an example of what we might like to see elsewhere in the vicinity. Just nice landscaping, well-maintained buildings. There is good economic activity that happens there. And this property, as a retail site, does have access at an intersection on Crawford and Highway 29. And so we have access points from numerous locations, so it's easy to get to. But it's quite a contrast from if you just take a look immediately north of that. We mentioned that what we're talking about here is amending the local services mixed use zoning district. And this site isn't the only one that has that zoning designation. So whenever we talk about amending a zoning district, we aren't just amending typically a single parcel, we're often looking at other ones as well. And so I have this sort of multicolored map here. This location here, Site 1, is the one pretty much in question here. The yellow here is the proposed Hampton Inn site. This yellow area here are the adjacent properties that have the same zoning. If we look over here, this one here is also the same zoning. It's 4 acres. The property owner there is interested in a residential development, has been talking to us for several years on a number of different prospects for that property. So that one is unlikely to support a hotel. And that one is one that has multifamily is certainly what the current property owner seems to intend to do. If we move over here to Site 3, that consists of several properties. We already have a hotel just up the road here, but this location here, we have the plumbing supply store, and then they have a property next door. They're talking about some day in the future to expand. We have the car wash. We have the Navajo rug, and then we have Mr. Lawson's property here, and he's been looking at examining perhaps some kind of a commercial use in that property. So we have small properties already, some already developed. None individually would probably make a great hotel site, but they're all pretty much committed to something largely today. And then finally, Site 4 here is narrow. It's bounded by the highway on one side, the railroad tracks on the other. There's an earthquake fault that runs through it. And so it would be a very difficult site for a hotel, perhaps not impossible, but certainly challenging. So when we look at what might be feasible hotel sites among the basket of sites we have here with this zoning, this one over here seems like a pretty good prospect. It's the right size, right shape. Hotels don't typically need to have corner location. So for what it's worth, just kind of wanted to give you an overview of all the different sites that would have a change to the zoning should the council decide to amend the zoning as proposed. Some of the other zoning considerations, I think I've touched on them already, but just looking at a really big picture, we recently went through with the council approving the Broadway district. The main point of the Broadway district, in addition to placemaking for the city, is really to facilitate economic development through a program EIR and a plan that the community is behind. And so really looking at ways in which we can facilitate economic development in the core part of town. Prior to adopting the Broadway district, there was an economic study. That study showed that certainly in the life of the plan, which is arguably 10, 20 years, not a short-term plan necessarily, but there is a market for additional hotels. And so really there's room from a broad point of view for additional hotel development in the city. I mentioned already that folks that might stay in a hotel would certainly shop in nearby retail centers, perhaps attend the restaurants, definitely provide population nearby to support it. That isn't there today. Kind of touched on the other local serving sites. Probably none of them great candidates that would likely have a hotel, but not impossible. And as we look beyond this particular zoning district, there are two other locations that are probably pretty good locations for hotels. And that would be the Marshall Honey Farm to the northern part of the district, up here at Lombard Road, here Napa Junction Road. That one's a larger site than most hotels need. It's 4 acres, but we have had some inquiries, but no applications. And then also the Pacific Union site, that's on the other east side of the highway, just next to the Reliant Apartments. We haven't had any inquiries on that site for a hotel, but there's been a lot of interest in multifamily. So it does seem as if that there aren't a lot of good feasible locations, at least apparent at this time, for hotels. One other issue that kind of comes into play when we were looking at amending zoning, when you look at the table of allowable uses, some are permitted outright, where they just need to comply with development standards and they're good to go. And others are allowed with a conditional use permit. And a conditional use permit are for those uses that for one reason or another might have a conflict with the neighboring properties, or could have something about its operation that could come in conflict with something nearby or in the city. In which case, the Planning Commission, which is the typical approval authority for it, has the discretion with substantial evidence to either deny an application for a conditional use permit or modify it to make it fit with the neighbors. So there's a pretty big distinction between a conditional use permit and just a use that is just permitted outright, where they just have to meet the development standards. And by that I mean the height limit, setbacks, parking, and so on. Those are things that are objective. And so it's something that doesn't need to be discussed necessarily or decided tonight, but that is something that would need to come as part of a decision package, ultimately to the council, should a zoning application come forward. Just kind of wanted to review with you a little bit about, tonight we're here to talk about, is this a good idea? What thoughts do you have? Do people in the public have ideas or things to think about? But if we were to go forward beyond tonight's council workshop, the next steps in that would be a staff analysis of the information that we have available to us. There is also environmental review. It is subject to the California Environmental Quality Act, so that would need to be considered. As always, we encourage public outreach in advance of an application, but certainly during the process, that is something that, of course, we all know is built into our process. We've done that for many years. Ultimately, this would come to the Planning Commission for review, a public hearing, and a recommendation to the City Council, and then the City Council for a decision under 2 readings. So, and with that overview, just want to turn it back to you and look forward to your input on this idea.
Mr. Cooper, thanks for that. Do you mind going back to the previous slide?
That one there?
Maybe one more.
Zoning considerations?
Yeah. Okay. It's just going to help me remember a couple of things. A couple questions. When you say proposed hotel, is that the right word, or is it more exploratory right now? Or are they already proposing it?
They have, in conjunction with the zone change application, they've proposed the actual hotel itself. Because the zoning doesn't allow it, we don't know whether to call it a design permit or conditional use permit, but it is basically a site plan application.
Okay. And then if we were to change this LSMU site, does that affect the EIR that's already been approved as part of the BDSP? Will new EIRs be a part of their review process?
I mentioned that environmental review is part of it. The Broadway district did contemplate, I don't have the exact number, but we'll just say several hundred hotel rooms were contemplated in the Broadway district plan. And so what would happen through environmental review is we would take a look at how this might change or affirm or not change assumptions in the program EIR for the Broadway district. So
Great.
Likely it could be done through some kind of an addendum.
All right, can you go back to the map that's showing all the LSMU areas? Thank you. As I read about this and then thought about it and considered the options, I try to go back to when we were thinking about what the Broadway district specific plan was and what we intended for this area. And if I recall correctly, it was us looking at this as maybe sort of, smaller businesses, kind of a home improvement area. And then just to the north of that, if you were to zoom out of this, particularly on the west side of the highway, would be more housing, a little denser housing to the highway. And then across on the east side, that would turn into more of an urban core basically from the card room forward all the way to Walmart. And those are mixed retail and then hotel there as well. Can you recall, or can any other council members recall ideas and possibilities that could happen here? Because what I'm trying to understand is what could possibly go there if it's not a hotel, right? And considering what I've heard from developers over the years, and where things are where commercial properties are best, it's a lot of access. It's on corners, right? Or they own sort of big stands. Canyon Plaza is probably one of the more successful places that we have, but it's still, you kind of have to turn to get into it, right? It's not as easy as going into Safeway or Walmart. And the challenge of LSMU Site 1 is even more pronounced. And so can we talk a little bit about what has been proposed there over the years, or what we had thought about when we were doing this?
Well, I think fundamentally, private enterprise is very creative. And so it's difficult when we're looking at a larger plan to know exactly what might be a good use on a certain property at any given time. Certainly, as we know, there have been economic changes. Things swing one way or another. New opportunities arise. New technology brings new business opportunities. It's pretty hard to know with certainty what the future will bring.
All right,
and so we do already have a pretty broad-based allowance of uses today. And so since we have somebody that is interested in putting down money and building something, if the question is this a good use? How does that kind of fit into the larger plan? Like, kind of think more of your point.
Yeah, so, it's the bird in the hand versus two in the bush kind of thing. And so has anything come before the planning before the planning department before that was proposed here? I know at one time it was the home of the Arts Foundation. I know there was other things, but is this the most significant proposal that we've had in the last decade?
We did have a proposal for dialysis service here. And ultimately what they told us was, I guess they use a lot of water. And so our, as we know, our water is expensive because it's short supply. And what they said to us was, well, your capacity fees are just too expensive for us to be here. And so that was their reason for not moving forward, that they told us.
And how long, do you recall how long ago that was?
It was probably about 5 years ago, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. This one's a tough one. I reached out to Rick Hess, who owns Canyon Plaza there, to kind of get his take on what a hotel would look like there. And he said he looked at that property for a long time. And all the reasons that you had stated before were difficult for him to invest in that area, namely because you just don't, if that orange area in Site 1 was available, then it becomes a much more valuable property. But those are private homes.
Right.
And then there's also an existing corner there that you just can't take advantage of it. But he did say something interesting that I thought about, and there's a 29 salon right there, just below the blue dot, and there's a little gap of trees there, right where the word gun is. And he said, if possible, he'd be happy to work with those people if it came to it, as a I think we use this word in the Broadway district plan, as a paseo to get to his property. Which would help out the restaurants there and also the other services. I feel supportive of this because there's this bird in the hand, but at the same time, it is pretty early in the process. And have we exhausted every opportunity for what we envisioned as a council? And I'm asking myself and asking the council, could a hotel be part of that vision as well? Those are my comments, and thank you for your time.
I'd like to point out a couple things. Vice Mayor, you point out an interesting thing of paseo in that part. So I recall some of the conversation as we were developing the specific plan. The idea was to be able to get a connection between Canyon Corners, across these sites, all the way across over here to Donaldson Way. If you and that certainly that would enhance, I would think, attraction to a developer or somebody wants to stay at a hotel if that were the case. This little gap right there between where the trees are, yes, or pointers are on the same thing. If you go down here to the lower left corner of this orange property, it's empty. I happen to know the owner of that, and there's no building on it actually. I believe the house above it is a rental house he owns. So the issue would be access, and that's certainly the stumbling block for consideration with that. They were able to acquire something that would allow them to get into this property, certainly would ease a bit of that. Kind of like when we purchased the property just to the north of City Hall, part of that was to be able to get access into the back here, in the back part of the building here. Similarly located hotels, yes. Fairfield Inn is on Antonina, but there is no light at the corner. So it can be very problematic getting out of that, trying to turn right on that intersection. You have to go down to Boca Way or Rio Del Mar, where you have a controlled intersection with a traffic light to safely make a U-turn. Yeah, those are, I think the thing that's really limiting it is access to, well, Surface Street like Donaldson Way. I know in and out on Broadway, what's Caltrans going to say about that? Since they control access to the highway. Have we heard anything from Caltrans on that matter? I guess that's a question for Cooper.
Mayor, we haven't approached Caltrans at this point yet, but Caltrans, because this parcel only access is available on Broadway, Caltrans would need to allow for access, but it would require an encroachment permit with the state of California.
Okay. Yeah, so its current access is got 2 points on the highway. I'm familiar with that.
Mayor, if I may just add a little bit of additional context in just quickly reviewing the 5 different zoning districts that exist in the Broadway District Plan, only 2 of them permit lodging uses. And they're, that's the business park in downtown core, and they're generally on the east side of the highway. And the Broadway residential and the local mixed use and the home improvement district generally on the west side of the highway, and none of those other 3 permit lodging. And in recalling back, it probably had a little bit of logic there. The traditional thought has been that the marketplace viewed the northbound traffic as being the logical source of lodging customer base, meaning folks, visitors coming from the south and the east, coming to visit and stay, would be coming north on the highway here and then leaving to go back south. And for the reasons Brent kind of alluded to, this site, to get to this site from the south, requires a U-turn at Donaldson Way or coming in, off of Highway 12, quite frankly, coming in the other direction. So it probably had a little bit to do with not thinking that the west side parcels were necessarily suited for that visitor traffic, and that this general thought that the northbound, southbound patterns. But as Brent kind of pointed out, it is very hard to sort of time the market or guess the market and get all these boxes and color codes in the right places. So I just wanted to add that.
Mayor, if I may, I have a few comments.
Please. Go ahead.
I tend to agree with Vice Mayor Oro that this is a hard one. One of the first things I did when I saw this is I opened up Google Maps to look at the location, and I see exactly what Vice Mayor Oro was talking about. And that was one of my first thoughts, is maybe we can open this up. And I'm thinking of this in relation to our economic development strategy, right? Because for me, as a committee member of the Economic Development Committee, whenever we're talking about new businesses, I like to think of them from the perspective of our economic development strategy. And one of the 4 goals that we have is realign retail expectations. Another one is capture more tourism dollars. And I believe that a hotel in this area would do that. The concerns that I have is our number 1 goal is create opportunities for residents to earn living wage jobs in American Canyon. I think we might have to run this past our residents, to be honest, because what I don't want is for us to flood American Canyon with hotels. We currently have 3, but we have potentially 3 more already on the horizon, and this would be 4. Talking about Watson Ranch, the Strawberry Patch, and Adobe Lumber, right? So this would be a 5th one, making it 7 hotels in tiny American Canyon. And what I don't want is to see the same kind of attitude that I see in Napa by residents saying, hey, our council seems to care, or I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but during campaigns and stuff, you hear a lot of concerns from residents, and it's that tourism dollars are more important than our residents. And I don't want to have that happen here in American Canyon. So that's a concern I have for me is, number 1, are these the kinds of jobs that our residents want to see here? And number 2, if we have 7 hotels in American Canyon, are our business owners going to be able to sustain that? Because the last thing I want is to say, yeah, absolutely. And I know that this discussion is not, let's approve a hotel tonight. I understand that. But the last thing I want is for us to approve 7 hotels and then have, half of them shut down because we're not sustaining them. So I would like to see more numbers on occupancy rates with the factoring in of hotels 4, 5, and 6. I would like a discussion with our residents about, are these the kinds of jobs that we want to bring in here?
Point well taken. No, you're right about the income level. This hotel jobs are not high-paying jobs, no, but typically minimum wage. And,
If I may,
please go ahead, Mr. Bush.
I'd like to at least share from my point of view. I've just recently started reading up on this request, and I agree with Councilmember Oral and Councilmember Abadamas, but taking it on a different look. I look at it as, if we bring in a hotel, what guarantees do we have, if they're not successful, that this hotel doesn't turn into a nightmare for us? From a standpoint of, if we bring in a hotel, they become unsuccessful, and we turn around and it becomes a Motel 6 in the heart of our city, so we need to make sure we take that into consideration. I really agree with Councilmember Abadamas that we need to take it to the residents and kind of get their opinions and see if that's something they want in that location. Yeah. So I agree.
If I can add or add my comments. First of all, my main comment is there may be something to being the last speaker, because it turns out you've all raised some of the same concerns I've had. I am concerned about the feasibility where we have at least 6 or 7 potential hotels. I'm just not sure we can support that, and I'd be more comfortable if somebody spent the money to do a feasibility study to see just exactly how many rooms we could support. Because I don't want to see us just approving hotels and then whoever can get it built first or basically oversaturate. And I've heard some feedback. Now, admittedly, it's from other hotel owners who may not be the most objective, but they're also in a position to know what they're able to sell in terms of rooms and not. So feasibility is certainly a major concern. My other concern is Councilmember Washington's. Well, we're being told it's a Hampton Inn, and that would probably be great. But a lot of times in the development process, you start off with a Hampton Inn, something falls through, then all of a sudden, all I can get is a Motel 6 or a microtel. And we've approved a lodging, so we can't very well suddenly say, well, we don't want that kind of hotel, we want this kind of hotel. So for my purposes, if we do move forward with this, I would encourage us to look at the possibility of a development agreement, because in exchange for making a discretionary act of changing the zoning, I think we're entitled to say we want some consideration, and that might be related to certainty over the design and architectural standards, as well as some control over the brand. That if it isn't Hampton, it's a hotel brand of comparable or better quality. Admittedly, that may be hard to define, but we'll leave it to our staff and our attorney to figure that out. But those are my main concerns. I certainly see an advantage to a hotel being there because it could create some synergy at that part of town. But I'm also worried about how much saturation we're risking, as well as a certainty over the brand. The last thing, just as an observation, it probably doesn't mean anything. That little strip of orange, if we did develop a hotel or developed anything on that one parcel, that little strip seems to be too small to be anything other than what it is. And so one argument in favor of waiting to see what happens is if there's the ability to acquire those smaller parcels, so that suddenly you're looking at maybe a 4 or 5 acre parcel on a corner lot. And at that point, our opportunities are substantially greater. So we'll throw a third piece to the puzzle. What if we waited for the ability to acquire all of those parcels and make it a bigger piece that can really develop something even nicer than what we're thinking about tonight. So I do have a fair amount of reservations. I like the concept. I like the opportunity of generating some economic activity there, but I certainly have a lot of misgivings as well. So I guess I'd go along with the idea of letting our residents weigh in on it as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I would support that. And frankly, Councilmember Joseph, this was my thinking as well, was that orange strip. Has there been any conversation between the parties interested in developing the hotel in terms of acquiring that orange strip? Certainly puts you back on the corner there. But I think what's missing for me and part of this discussion is where are the other hotel sites? I'd like to see that proximity to each other so I have a bigger picture of that to understand it better. I think the community weighing in on it is certainly an opportunity to get the feel of where they are with it. I see challenges with this site, and but there's also opportunity with the ability to gain a larger site to get some better access. And obviously, looking at a map like this, well, if you get all the property on the orange strip, then you've solved the problem in terms of access.
Yeah, and I understand that that orange strip has been contemplated, at least by Rick Hess, for a while, and you know, those are individual property owners there, and that it's it's valuable housing that's there, you know, and for at least from what he said, it just never really penciled out. You know, I understand. You know, I led this conversation with a little bit of hesitation, but I want to sway it back a little bit a different way. That bird in the hand analogy, right? So, let's look at it in a way where we put a hotel there and the Paseo works. And then, I don't know, Mr. Cooper, I don't know if what they contemplated in terms of the number of rooms, but let's just call it 100 rooms, right? That is, 50 to 100 people or more a night ready to eat at Taqueria Los Contaros, or go over to Crave, or visit the library, or eat at the Subway, and things like that. And if you think about the site number 2, and just that whole place becomes a more walkable area and its own little hub of activity. And remember, we're redoing James Road this year. You got a little bit more. You got a sidewalk there to get over to Canyon Corners and Safeway. I don't think you'll be walking down the highway anytime soon, but you start to have activity there that becomes an area that is improved. And that is the bird in our hand right now. In terms of bringing the public into it and having a public hearing and getting folks, yeah, sure. I would like to hear that. I'm less worried about the job concern, because I think there will be jobs there. You're going to get a GM, you're going to get some managers, you're going to get catering, you're going to get others there, and you'll stimulate a lot of economic activity. I am fearful, though, of those two birds in the bush. If we wait too long or we let this opportunity pass, then it just sits there for another 10 years. Let us remind ourselves that we have been sitting here for 25 years doing this. I mean, Canyon Plaza has already been there for 20 years. The reason why we did the BDSP was to accelerate development and improvement of the Broadway corridor. And I don't want us to over-contemplate allow our hesitation to miss an opportunity. And I think if we can move forward in a way that allows us to involve the public and contemplate the best use at the same time, as well as consider the proposed hotel before we do anything specific in the zoning change. I think that would, if we could balance that, I think it would help us make a better decision.
Good
I
thought.
have another question. Brent, it looks like, so if you look from this is the Google Maps that I'm looking at, it looks like there's a little bit of a space between two houses on Donaldson Way. And I'm wondering if an easement can be acquired there to have a second entrance or make that a main entrance. I'm not sure. The issue for me, I agree with Vice Mayor Oro. I really do. I think I like the fact that this is I like this location for a hotel. And I like the fact that it's bird in hand. And I think it would be super awesome if we can do a little paseo there and have it have easy access between Canyon Plaza and a hotel, I think that would be great. But like Vice Mayor Oro said, I think we need updates on where are we at with the Strawberry Patch Hotel. We have a development agreement with Watson Ranch, so that hotel is coming. So that one adds 4. And then what's the status with potentially the other site on the east side of town? That in addition to occupancy rates and how our hotels are doing, excluding the COVID era, right? Because it's weird for everyone right now. I'm in the same boat as Vice Mayor Oro is. I think this is a hard one. I think there's opportunity there. What makes it difficult is that the applicant is looking for assurances from us because of the cost of an entitlement application. I don't think that at this point I can definitively say, yeah, go ahead, submit an entitlement application with confidence that this is going to be approved, because I'm not 100% there at this point.
Well,
I don't know how we would, I don't know if it would make sense to just go back and bring back more information. I hate to do that, but.
Well, if I can weigh in, again, as I indicated earlier, I appreciate all these concerns because I have them as well. Trying to figure out how to thread that needle, certainly one possibility is to ask the developer to do a feasibility or a market study to be able to justify that there is support for another 100 units, even though we have 3 now, 1 that's permitted, 1 that we've more or less committed to in the Watson Ranch plan. So we need to be sensitive that we don't approve projects.
They're frozen.
Mark, you got kind of cut off there, frozen.
Yeah, your connection's froze.
You may need to sign off and try and sign back on. You can still hear us. One of the things that that I've been observing and thinking about, Mayor, and none of the discussion that we've had tonight, I know we haven't gotten yet to any kind of public comment, but none of the discussion that we've had tonight has been around a hard no or full stop. You know, we don't want this. What we have is something to, it's an intriguing possibility, probably a good location, but we have a bunch of things we would want addressed, you know, and another way of saying that would be, you know, if we received an application and included studies that address the various issues that are being raised and include assurances for quality and for you know, for development standard, then, you know, that's something that this council would take on its face and consider in good faith and wouldn't just throw away. The council would value all that information. And at this stage, that's all we can offer a development proposal. We're not in a place where we can, you know, offer something that feels like assurance, and that's the business of development. There's risk involved and there's no guarantee of decision. Today, there is no lodging use allowed. That's a full stop. So anything more permissive than that, you know, is what would be needed to allow something to move forward. So, you know, I'm hearing something that's probably more in a conditionally permitted category rather than a permitted by right category. And I think, you know, that's probably something out of the gate we'd be thinking about because of the other concerns that are being raised. And, you know, I'm hearing some work around economic feasibility of this particular site, you know, as well as economic, at least I'll call it kind of local economic impact in and around the neighborhood, particularly Canyon Plaza and some of the other areas nearby. You know, those are all studies that can be done. And, you know, I think this is good feedback for us, for staff to hear and to create a path forward, because again, we're not hearing we don't want a path forward. We intentionally left lodging out of this and we don't want to change. And that was the main purpose for bringing this to council tonight, was if this was council's perspective, you know, intriguing possibility, then we would have our work cut out for us and we'd find a path forward. If this was a full stop, no, then there's no reason to string somebody along. So with an application. I would suggest, Mayor, that we at least open up for public comment to see if
Certainly, yeah.
comments or
Anybody,
while we wait for Mark to jump back on and join us.
Certainly. Do we have any public comment on this matter? Oh, you're muted.
Sherry?
Sherry, you're muted. Yes.
Yes, we have Mark Stum.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. My name is Mark Stum. Kareem Sayani and I are working to develop the Home 2 Suites Hotel at the Strawberry Patch. Early on, we explored the prospect of building on the west side of Broadway near Donaldson Way. Though more costly, one of the main reasons we opted for our current site was due to the fact that it would be located in the downtown core sub-area upon the anticipated approval of the Broadway District Specific Plan. The downtown core specifically, and I quote, encourages mixed-use development focusing on lodging, local and visitor serving retail, and high-density residential development to create a destination for residents and visitors. The classification, which was purposely included in the plan, specifically identifies lodging services and overnight accommodations as permitted uses. The site of the proposed Hampton Inn is located in the local serving mixed-use sub-area of the Broadway District Specific Plan, which was established, and I quote, to accommodate a range of commercial uses and related services that will serve the local community. The classification, which again was purposely included in the plan, specifically identifies lodging services and overnight accommodations as prohibited uses. Other sites are currently available, such as in the Business Park zoning district of the plan, which does allow for lodging. And of course, the aforementioned downtown core does as well. The Business Park and the downtown core combined equate to well over more landmass than all of the other Broadway district specific plan zones combined. Now here's the difficult for me, because as a hotel developer and a potential competitor, I can come across as a spoil sport. But as we all know, there are several hotels coming to market, including our own. And in the hotel business, it's very, very important that demand for those rooms keeps up with the supply. And if it doesn't, you run the risk and the likelihood of mitigation from one hotel to another. In other words, you're really not creating more guest traffic in the community. You're just spreading it out and thinning it out. And they're not going, and as such, their buying power throughout the community does not increase by adding another hotel at that point when demand hasn't kept up with supply, which also negates the bird in the hand theory. The Broadway District Specific Plan was developed over a period of nearly 6 years. And it included a 10-person stakeholder citizens advisory committee, multiple community involvement work sessions, several city council and planning commission workshops, core business group meetings, as well as other agency meetings and studies. Clearly, it was a well-crafted and vetted plan with clear and specific intentions that will guide stakeholder and community decisions and investment for the next 10 to 20 years, which is a quote from the plan. And as developers, that meant a lot to us. Though more costly, one of the main reasons we located to the current site was because of the downtown or the Broadway specific plan, as I mentioned before. So in order to maintain the integrity and intent of the plan, particularly at this early stage after its adoption, I would respectfully encourage you to vote no and not allow the Hampton Inn Hotel project to proceed in the Broadway District Specific Plan local serving mixed use area. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any other speakers?
No.
No other speakers. Okay.
Mayor, may I ask our last speaker a question?
Generally, we just take a listening comment, but I guess we can. Yeah. Go ahead, Councilman.
Mr. Stump, thank you for speaking with us this evening. My question pertains to the brand loyalty and the brand recognition. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Hampton Inn, Homewood Inn and Suites, and Doubletree are all Hilton properties. Is that correct?
Can you hear me? I can't tell if I'm.
Yes.
Okay,
Mr.
good.
Stump?
Yeah, yeah, okay, great.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, and I didn't want to bring that up because again, it makes me sound like a spoil sport, but you are correct. And so we would all be competing for that same clientele.
But my understanding has been that Hiltons and Marriotts tend to cluster their different brands because of the brand loyalty, right? So the Homewood Inn and Suites have their customers, and the Hiltons have, the Doubletrees have their customers, and the Hampton Inns have their customers. So wouldn't it be more convenient for Hilton in general, and wouldn't it be easier for you on, let's say Bottle Rock weekend when you overbook to be able to walk someone to another hotel?
No, it doesn't work quite that way because what drives the brand loyalty is the umbrella brand. So they belong to the same club, Hilton Honors. And if we walk to another hotel, we would provide the guests, and it's part of the policy, with the Hilton Honor points, whether we walk them to the Holiday Inn Express or to the Fairfield Inn, which are part of other brand loyalty clubs.
Okay. Thank you. I saw Councilmember Joseph there for a moment. Maybe lost him again. Okay, well, if any further, not any further discussion, I think we have some direction to staff, I think.
Yeah, no, I do want to add a little comment to there. And
proceed there, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I think it was articulated a little bit better by Mr. Stum. And that is, I don't know if it's if integrity is the right word, or the intentions of the Broadway district specific plan, and honoring that as a council in terms of the years that we put into thinking about that and approving that. And that's not to say that we can't have the flexibility to change it as market conditions approve, but we're still early in this process of Broadway district specific plan, and before it even plays out, we're amending what we had spent years approving. And that has got to be my biggest hesitation on this. And who knows, a hotel at that site might be the highest and best use. It could be in the future. But respecting, I guess, what we've done and to the work that we put in to the BDSP gives me pause.
Well, my sense of that is it's a living document. Certainly, a lot has changed over the 6 years that it took us to develop it. And this consideration, I'm not really sold on at this point. What I'm trying to do is develop a level of certainty around the practicality of this being built on this location. So for me, it says, okay, if we have some way of, without great investment of time and finances, to develop some level of practicality of this working in this area, because I think that will guide us in terms of our ultimate decision with regard to any amendments to the Broadway specific plan. But those plans are living documents. As the economy changes, as the community grows, those all will be considered. And again, I expressed my point. I'm not embracing this totally in terms of, I think it's a great idea. I just want some more information. part of that to me is I have requested some information regarding what are the sites for the other hotels and what's the issue of feasibility study came up. What are hotel occupancy? I had a talk with the manager of a DoubleTree on occasion just to see how business is going. He does quite well. I don't know how Fairfield Inn does. I know during the COVID, I did catch up with the office manager. They have a lot of contract workers stay there, so that helps them keep the finances rolling in. But it's, of course, at a more reduced rate. Any other thoughts from council members?
Mayor, I want to bring up some of the language from BDSP as we talked about intent and intention. And I wanted to make sure staff was able to understand as we're looking at honoring that intent, what part of the plan we're trying to honor. And I'm going to read now verbatim from the local serving commercial mixed use district chapter. And it says the intent of this mixed use area is to strengthen existing local serving retail centers with additional complementary retail and new higher density residential developments in a standalone or mixed use pattern that provides additional customers that live or work nearby. And as I read the intent of that, I read it to really be focused on helping, and again, thinking about this area with the Canyon Plaza, Canyon Corners, and the existing retail that's there. And it says specifically that existing retail neighborhood commercial is not intended to redevelopment. It really views those as, in my mind, anchors. Canyon Plaza, Canyon Corners is really anchoring that part of Broadway. And what we're trying to do is augment those commercial centers and particularly their customer bases. And so, I'm not so sure that it is the focus of the intent is on the use per se, but rather the service, right? The additional customers really is at the forefront of what is trying to be the focus of this intent, that we have these existing commercial centers. We want to bring them more customers. And it was envisioned probably because the West Side wasn't considered great for lodging use. It was envisioned that those additional customers would come from residences, either, complementary retail or higher density residential. But if you could provide additional customers in another way, through another use like lodging, I think you've honored that intent. If additional customers come from a hotel and shop at these existing customer centers, you've honored that intent in a different manner. You haven't undermined the intent, certainly. And, to Brent's point about the retail, and it's not being a great site for retail, I would actually be concerned about, anything that wasn't complementary retail. If we were, going to have a little row of additional local restaurants, for example, you could say, well, that would probably compete with the local restaurants that are inside Canyon Plaza. And so it speaks about complementary retail and it envisions additional customers, i.e. additional residents. I don't think it means to exclude residents who might be short-time residents, i.e. those staying in lodging. I think the focus of the intent is really on strengthening the retail through additional customers. And certainly not trying to undermine, customers at other locations and not trying to create an oversaturated environment. That's also obviously not the intent of the Broadway plan. But I just wanted to make sure that this is staff's reading of what the intent of the Broadway plan is for this area is to help provide customers to those existing commercial centers. And it is probably a little less about how you actually did that and more about the customers and less about the land use that got you there.
Well, the intent of the Broadway district specific plan is to beautify that damn highway, right? And make it a lot better and make it a better use. And, if we can add to that, when broken down, we break it down into zones and hoping for a bigger holistic picture of a beautified highway. So I hear your point, Mr. Hawley, and it's a good one. But it gave me a thought of the intent being just the overall beautification of that highway and higher best use overall.
If I can
Yeah, Mark, Mr. Dothan, you're back.
I apologize for vanishing. Freezing is one thing. The last time I just dropped off. I don't know what the heck's going on. So at any rate, I apologize. So I may be saying things that were already said or asking questions that were answered. But again, from my concern, obviously there's some real advantages to having a hotel there, but I think we're entitled to have the applicant do a little bit of homework for us. And in that regard, addressing the concerns we've raised, which is saturation. Can we support another 100 hotel rooms? I appreciate the city manager's point of view, which is that hotel will certainly invigorate the retail that's down there, obviously. But if in that process we undermine a 200-room resort at Watson Ranch, we undermine the entire Watson Ranch plan, because the economics were real clear that we make money off the hotel. So we need to be sensitive to how what one action does impacts another area. In the same token, that little strip of orange again, if the vacant parcel is a hotel, what can you do with that strip of land? I mean, it can be what it is, obviously, but we need to think of it in the context of what are we doing to the potential use of that strip of 4 or 5 parcels? Are we creating a stranded asset in contrast to trying to assemble it all into one larger parcel? And again, the certainty that we get the brand we're looking for. So for me, I think we need to go back and let the developer know that, we're willing to consider it, but we have certain questions that he's got to answer for us, and, come back when he's got those answers, if that makes sense. And from a process perspective, considering a development agreement might be a mechanism by which to kind of ensure that we get things that we might not otherwise get if we simply allow for a more permissive use in that area. So for me, I think the developer has some homework assignments, and we should do that and come back.
One more thing that I wanted to throw out there is our residents are consistently asking us for nice restaurants or higher end restaurants. I think that higher end hotels would probably bring higher end restaurants. So maybe we can talk to the applicant about potentially bringing something even higher end, or something higher end than a mid-level Hampton Inn and Suites or something of that nature. I think that would kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Okay. We have enough information?
I think we do. Brent,
Thank you.
any other thoughts you had, Brent? You wanted questions or anything?
No, I thought it was really good. I'm just always happy when I can bring these issues to the council, because we have great conversations and on both sides of the issue. And I just want to let you know that really helps staff when we talk to the applicant, so that they know that when we're saying something, we're really, truly speaking for everybody. So I really appreciate all of your contributions to the issue, that we can go back and have a good, robust application. And ultimately, all of this input always brings toward a better project. So thank you very much.
And I would like to add to that, because I forgot to mention it. I do appreciate this process as well. The biggest concern I have is when everything has been packaged and the council's being given an option of either up or down.
Yeah.
We don't have the ability to say, could you tweak it here and here? But when you bring it in at the front end, it's all very conceptual. It's relatively easy to address some of our concerns, and it ends up to be a better product. So I want to compliment staff for bringing it to us way early in the process, because it saves everybody time and energy, and you end up with a better product. So thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Cooper. Okay. Anything further, Ms. Holly?
No, that's all the business items. Just on to updates.
Staff's ready to move on. We'll go on to staff management and staff oral reports.
Yes, Park and Rec Director Creighton Wright has an update for the council.
And Mr. Mayor, give me one moment here, as I am apparently screwing this up. Well, I was going to share our city website, and I can't seem to get to it from this device, so I apologize. I wanted to call to your attention, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that our being that we're in the holiday season, this is the time of year we call the magic of the season, where we celebrate this great holiday time. And being that we're in COVID, we're doing everything online and virtual this year. So I wanted to bring to your attention lots of great activities we have on our website for folks to do, mostly remotely and at your own homes. We have opportunities for some crafts, some baking ideas. We have our annual I Spy scavenger hunt contest will come up a little bit later in the month. I think each of you have been involved in some recording for us for a special virtual ceremony that will be released a little bit later this week for a holiday tree. And we have our prompt for our rock garden, which we will be doing snow people, snow men and women, that we wish people to paint rocks and deliver it to our rock garden at Elliott Park. Our virtual ugly sweater contest just dropped today on Facebook. We're recruiting and soliciting for folks in the community to take a picture of themselves wearing their ugly holiday sweater and share it with the community for us all to enjoy. And and I see
there we go.
Mr. Hawley is brought out his lovely holiday vest, which probably would run well in the contest. And then we have 3 partner activities. COVID has certainly made them delivered in a much different way. Our American Canyon Community Parks Foundation is doing their reindeer run, in which registration is still being accepted, in which it is completely virtual. You sign up on a run page and you run your 5 or 10K kind of on your honor, and you submit your time and location, and they will then rank order them based on your run time for that. We also are hosting or helping out the Fire Protection District with our Toys for Tots program. Again, virtual. It's usually opportunity to deliver in various locations throughout the city. This year it'll be mostly at the Public Safety Building and at our local Walmart is the delivery location for Toys for Tots, in which they are looking for unwrapped new toys for those to be then redistributed for those children in need. And then finally, we have our Salvation Army Angel Tree and Holiday Assistance information is on our website. And our Seroptimus has been on a monthly basis providing bingo and music. And those actually music is Thursday night at 7 o'clock. Get on their Facebook page to find out more information about it. So I just want to share for you our rundown for our Magic of the Season December activities. Please hop on the city's website, cityofamericancanyon.org/magic of the season, and it'll take you right to it.
Well, thank you for the report. A lot of activities going on for December for the holidays. I'm sure we are looking forward to participating in all the good fun. Anything else, Mr. Hawley?
No other updates, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Move on to the mayor, council comments, committee reports, future agenda reports. Anything to report? We'll start with Councilmember Alvarez.
I don't have anything to report, Mr. Mayor, but I wanted to welcome Councilmember Washington to the council. Look forward to working with you and our committee assignments.
Very good. Okay.
And happy holidays.
Thank you. Councilmember Joseph.
Yes, well, I want to welcome Councilmember Washington as well. Looking forward to a whole new council and a whole new direction. Not too much to report other than I believe tomorrow is back to the table day at Mi Zacatecas. So if you're in the mood to be hungry, eat there. We will. Thank you. And happy holiday.
It's a sponsor of that event. They will see you there, Councilmember. Vice Mayor Orl.
I have nothing to report, sir, other than to also welcome Councilmember Washington to the council. Looking forward to working with you.
Well, I will make that unanimous. Councilmember, report.
I'm actually just appreciative to be here. And I thank all the warm welcomes from everybody. You guys all gave me plenty of things to read. So I got a bookshelf full of manuals to review. So thank you very much.
Well, there'll be a quiz at the end, so.
I'm sure.
Very good. And I just love that holiday activities. I think the CERT team, again, we did the Community Action Napa Valley food distribution. Time was 240. Seems to be a number we're settling in on in terms of cars coming through the aquatic parking lot. And Kiwanis was over at the pantry over the weekend. They bagged up 150 bags again to help out with their food distribution. So there's still a great need out there. And I would encourage anybody who wants to help out, particularly this time of year. You know, non-perishable food donation, actually a gift card or monetary donation, because Kiwanis sends people out shopping to get the best buy they can to help our family. So I know our hearts are all there with our community. Well, with that has concluded our evening. No future agenda items at this point? Not hearing? Nope. All right. All right. Well, thank you very much. We have another meeting here on the 17th, I believe. Is that correct? And then we'll have a little break for the holidays and time to spend with our friends and families. Social distancing as appropriate. Stay with your immediate family. Thank you. All right. Bye for now.
Thank you.